So, well, Jensen, I was very impressed this morning when you give your acceptance speech to your HKUST degree. You said quite a few numbers about our university, especially the number of startups we ever created by our alum students, and also how many unicorns this university has produced, and how many exits we had. This university is indeed known for creating new the entrepreneurs, companies, and but still, we have the master here today, you. And you created your own company when you were very young, and you led the company all the way to today's unbelievable success. So what is your advice to our students and the faculty members, when and why they should start their own thing? And besides, you did promise your wife, Lori, that by the age of 30, you will do a company. Besides that, what are the suggestions? Yeah.
That was my pickup line. I didn't mean it. I was 16 when I went to college, and when I met my wife, I was 17. She was 19, and so I was the youngest kid in school, in class. There were 250 students and 3 girls, and I was the only student that looked like a child, and they were all children.
So you learned how to be competitive at that time.
No, you have to learn how to, have a good pickup line. And so I walked up to her and I said to her, I know I looked like a child, and therefore I am certain that her first impression of me is that I'm pretty smart. It's got to be that, otherwise, And so I knew that her first impression of me would be that I'm smart. And so I walked up to her and I said, "Do you want to see my homework?" And then I made her a promise. I said, if you do homework with me every Sunday, I promise you will get straight A's. Okay? And as a result, I had a date every Sunday. And I made her do homework all day. I was with her the whole day. And then just to make sure that eventually she marries me, I told her that by the time I'm 30, I just wanted to let you know I'm only 20 right now. But by the time I'm 30, I'm going to be a CEO. I have no idea what I was talking about. And then we got married.
Yeah.
And so I think that's all the advice I'm going to give all the entrepreneurs. That's it. Fine. Yeah.
Actually, Jensen, it's actually one of the students' questions I collected. It was the one student actually asked that is, so apparently the student said that he is good at school and everything, but he needs to focus. But he read the story about your love stories. He thought he's going to ask you, would that be detrimental to his study here if he's wasting his time to date a girl? Your answer is absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Well, if you don't keep doing well, so she never saw it, but I wanted her to know that I'm smart, and so I did the homework before she showed up. So by the time that she showed up, I knew all the answers. And she must the whole time thought, for 4 years. Jensen's a genius.
You are, Jensen. You are a genius. Well, Jensen, now you give our students some good tips, and I need to ask a question.
That's the only life advice. I think the rest of that.
By the way, I actually have 9 pages of questions that I apologize. I cannot pick everyone's. And one, I really feel that I should ask on behalf of our...
Just reading the questions would take 45 minutes.
That's true. And I didn't use GPT, otherwise it would be easier. So the question is actually, so as an assistant professor in university, now doing AI requires a lot of computing power. We kind of alluded to that earlier. It's interestingly, this University of Washington professor tweeted a few years ago something like that, noticeably missing in action in the deep learning revolution is MIT. But he really didn't mean just MIT. It's actually the top universities, even in the US, have not contributed too many seminal papers in the last decade. Rather, the companies, your company, Microsoft, OpenAI, Google, DeepMind, and those top companies have done amazing work, partly because they actually have enough computing power. So our professor's question is that, what should we do? Should we just all join NVIDIA? That's one way. Or can we partner with NVIDIA? You are our new alum, and can you please help?
Yes, and yes, but you're at the core of your question is actually a very, very serious structural problem of universities. As you know, in the future, there is no way to advance science in the scale that we're talking about without machine learning. And machine learning is not possible without machines.
That's right.
It's no different than you're not going to study the universe without a radio telescope. You're not going to study the universe. You're not going to study the fabric of the building blocks of the world without some kind of a particle accelerator. You're not going to, right? You can't study these things. You need the instruments of science. And supercomputers, AI supercomputers, are the instrument of science today. The structural problem of universities is that each one of the private investigators, each one of the researchers do their own funding. Mm-hmm. And as a result, once they fundraise, they don't want to share it with anybody else. But yet, the way that machine learning works, you need that machine for some part of time, but you need all of it for a small part of time. Nobody needs all of it forever. But they need something gigantic for a little bit of time. And so it turns out that in order for universities to advance research, you have to pull together everybody's funding, which is very hard in a university like Stanford or Harvard, or where the researchers that are getting research funding for computer science can raise a lot of money and get very large funding, but somebody who is in climate science or in ocean science or so on and so forth is very difficult. And so now the question is what to do. I think this is where universities that can lead by building an infrastructure for the whole school to use can make a real difference. But that's the structural challenge of universities. It is the reason why so many researchers come intern at companies like ours and Google and Microsoft, as you know, and you do your research because we have access to infrastructure, and then you go back to school for a while, and you ask us to keep your research alive in our systems so that you can pick up when you come back. Or many professors do, visiting professors do research part-time while they're still teaching. We have several of those. And so there's several ways to solve that problem, but the best way is somehow the universities have to rethink about how it does funding.
Mm-hmm. That's such a great advice, and especially today in the audience, we have Professor Sun Dong here, who runs our government's technology, innovation, and industry division, and who has been extremely supportive in coming up with funding to AI. In fact, Professor Sun actually supported this generative AI center in Hong Kong. It's called the Hong Kong Generative AI Center.
It's such a fundamental advantage.
Yeah. So, and we also have our deputy FS here, who also, can sign the checkbook, and I'm sure they can learn from you and listen to your advice. But I do
just remember the 1,000,000X discount.